everybody to the EMS Wizard podcast. I got my man Morgan Wallen in the background because I got Morgan Wallen's biggest fan with us on this episode. It's Justin Brines with Cabarrus County EMS. And instead of Mark come out here and boring everybody with a nice intro.
John.
Walter, you with us?
John, I'm here with y'all.
Daddy Walter.
Leave Justin alone about Morgan.
Put the guitar away.
I can just play a nice tune for us.
You can't.
You wish you could be like. No, you wish you could be like Terry. Just stop.
Justin doesn't want. He doesn't want to hear country music. He wants to be a rock star. So
I don't know. I don't know that I have met. I have a 13-year-old daughter who is not as big of a Morgan Wallen fan as John. I don't. There's no way. There's no way.
What about Nickelback? Does she like Nickelback?
She probably has never heard of Nickelback. I, however, respect Nickelback. Yes, Morgan Wallen, not so much, but you know.
What we do here on the podcast is we help people grow.
Right. Hey, I'll listen to anything, but
anything.
I mean, pretty much anything. Yeah. Yeah. Bluegrass would be where I'd land if I had to, pick a genre of.
Hey, steel drivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you on this one, Justin, with Cabarrus County EMS. Give us a little background on your venture through EMS to get to where you are, and we're probably just going to rapid fire some questions at you.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see, this makes 25 years with the county. I started in 98 part-time. Prior to that, I showed up at Odell Fire Department the week I turned 16, only because I had a friend who is now the chief of Concord Fire, Jake Williams, who said, "Hey, come on down here and hang out on a work night." And I really didn't know what it was about. I just was looking for. I mean, back then it was volunteerism was still much more alive. I mean, it's still alive now, depending on where you are, but it was a thing around here more back then. And we're talking like 94. So I showed up down there, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in public safety, but I eventually got in an EMT class, and the rest is history. But I started part-time with Cabarrus in 98 and have been here ever since. Born and raised in Cabarrus County. So lived and worked here my whole life. And in some respects, I kind of feel like it's boring, but a boring journey just because I've never moved anywhere. But in other respects, the tenure has been good to me, and I've worked with a bunch of awesome people. So, but started out, went through Alan Thompson's paramedic class graduated in 2000, and didn't have a degree. I spent some time at UNCC, and college wasn't for me at the time, and so went back and did the bridge to an associate's, and eventually ended up Western for my undergraduate, graduate school stuff. And so kind of went back and got the education after my paramedic. So, but that's kind of the 30,000 foot view anyway. I wouldn't take anything for the journey that I've had, and people ask all the time, would you do something different? I don't think I would change a thing, to be honest with you, because I've learned a lot, met a bunch of cool people, and like I said, worked with some even better than that. So,
and I think that represents a lot of us, because you're one of those that did like maybe all of us on here did. You went and got your medic, and then went back and got different varying levels of education. And you mentioned Western Carolina. I think all of us are go Cats, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of cool.
I was just going to say, starting now, back then I didn't have any options to do an associate's or bachelor's in EMS. So I think now people have a whole lot more opportunity starting out especially with an associate's program, to do that. And I might have gone to Western and lived on campus. Everything I did was online, but it's beautiful. Coloway's beautiful. And I spent a bunch of time in Maggie Valley growing up and around Haywood County. My aunt and uncle had a place up there. So, but I never, like I said, I sort of, just like y'all, went backwards and got the education after the fact. So
I think it gives you a different perspective, appreciation for it.
Yep, for sure.
And that's probably, and Justin, 25 years, that's probably I've probably been EMS a little bit longer than 25 years. But that was the way that it was. Like you said, there wasn't a whole lot out there, and continuing education was it. So you got your, continuing education, EMT, AEMT, whatever, D, AI, paramedic back then. And then, if you had the opportunity, I'm like you, I've been to Western Carolina several times, but I would, no on campus stay for multiple weeks or even a semester. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, you wasn't even born in 1998, were you?
98, I would have been 11 years old.
To ride a bicycle.
Correct.
Maybe somebody like Justin come and help bandage your boo-boo on your knee.
I think Cabarrus is a little bit of a trek to make.
Well, what led you down your management route, Justin, to get to where you are? I mean, and just for those folks out there that may not know, what is it that you do? What's your title?
I'm currently Deputy Chief of Administration. Several years back, we kind of, much like many agencies, we had grown underneath a whole bunch and hadn't really changed much in our administrative structure. We had a director and an assistant director. When Alan Thompson retired, Jimmy moved up to director. Jimmy Lance is our chief now, and we retitled everything chief, deputy chief, and we started building out some silos basically of responsibility. So we got administration, we got operations, and then we've got support services. That's our 3 deputy chiefs. So I manage the administrative wing, which is essentially hiring, firing, policy, basically all the things that go along with that. And honestly, how I got here, I think I always knew when I started, I knew that I wanted to do more than just ride the truck. I moved up fairly quickly from what we call now, we have senior paramedic, master paramedic, which is relief crew chief, the language that some are still familiar with in that respect. And I moved up pretty quick to crew chief, FTO, and lieutenant, only because it was the perfect storm of people retiring at a certain time, and there were positions to fill. Back then, it was, much harder to move up than it is now because attrition was around. I mean, it just wasn't hardly a thing, and you had to wait on people to either retire or that kind of thing. So I moved up pretty quick to lieutenant, but I spent probably, I have to go back and look, but I spent probably 9 or 10 years in the lieutenant spot. And our lieutenants here are on the ambulance, and then off when the captain is off, they supervise. So I spent a good bit of time in that lieutenant role. And then, moved up from there to captain, and I ran specialty services for a while, which was our community paramedic program. I think I was the first captain over community paramedic, and then I moved into the assistant director role. So I knew that I wanted to do more than ride a truck for 30 years. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I knew that I wanted to do more. So we talk about education. I always tell people, don't sleep on sitting around the station with idle time, not bettering yourself in some fashion. And we still have people that we have to poke and prod to do that. But I always knew that I wanted to have all the tools in my bucket when the time came to move up. So I don't know that leadership, management is one thing, leadership's another. I think leadership is something that I've truly had to grow in, because you can manage anything, but it takes some practice to lead people. So that's something that I still every single day I take things in and learn from. Specialty services now is support services, but we had a captain. We put a captain over specialty services, which was training, education, and community paramedic. We started community paramedic, I think, in 2014. I was the first captain over that division. And so we were doing training education. Now we have somebody who just manages training, but just like a lot of agencies, you're trying to do much you can with as many or the least FTEs that you can. So it was training education was half of it, and community paramedic was another. And we started community paramedic. Our focus still is primarily readmission prevention through the hospital. We work with Atrium, Cabarrus. They send us referrals, and we try to keep people out of the hospital. We are going down the road now of MAT and doing some more with mental health, because we're getting a facility here. We got somewhere to take them besides an ER. So that program is continuing to grow and has grown over the years, but we're kind of going down different routes with it now. Still doing readmission prevention, but anyway. So.
And you mentioned facilities, y'all have probably one of those cutting edge new facilities out there that y'all just erected. Several weeks ago, I had an opportunity to come out there and actually see it live before the doors opened up on it and got a good tour. And I was like fascinated by it. Shameless plug. We'll be doing our Leadership Academy 3 there in 2024. So we'll get full utilization out of that building too. And so we appreciate you being a good host. And you already mentioned Alan, also a really good partner to our program and stuff too. Just a legend, one of those legends that are out there in EMS, Alan Thompson. So tell us a little bit about what led to, number one, needing a facility, the process to go through that, because that wasn't an overnight success. That was a long time coming. So
yeah, it was. Patients paid off. We could have settled. So we started with CIP discussions back before Alan. Before Alan, David Hampton was our director. Before David, it was Ron Harwood. And those discussions, Ron hired me in '98. I think he retired in about 2000. We were having CIP discussions about a main station headquarters. We weren't calling it headquarters back then, 20 years ago. But ebb and flow of the economy and that kind of thing. We've always been very fortunate with political support here in the county. For the most part, you have little things here and there, but we kept waiting. So there were so many places we could have landed and settled. A BILO would vacate, and it's like, hey, we can stick you in here. We'll just upfit it. And we kept kind of holding off because we wanted our own identity. We wanted to build something, and timing was really just everything. We moved out of our administrative offices. We're in a 3,000 square foot station, basically, that was built in the mid to late 70s. And we had training on the 7th floor of the sheriff's office. So we had space there for seated education and a very small training room. We got, just like many agencies, trucks scattered all over the county, different places. When I say, spare trucks and trailers and four-wheelers and all that stuff spread all over the place. So we weren't all 3,000 square feet, but we had chief, 2 deputy chiefs, administrative support, and all in a really small area. So we started hard about 4 years ago, really looking at the plan, picking an architect. The site was the former fairground, so the county had owned the property for many years, for a long time. But it had a lot of rock on it, and they had tried to sell it. Nobody wanted to buy it, so it was, the time, like I said, that we were able to mitigate the rock for way less than we could have bought the land for. So we ended up right here in the middle of the county. And we tried to make everything. You mentioned, the EMS officer classes coming in, the Leadership Academy. We wanted the front half of the building to be a destination for everybody in EMS, as well as the county, other departments to use. The county's already had some training here in the building. So it's kind of built like a conference center on the front end, conference rooms, 120 seats in an auditorium. We've got simulation space that is really second to none as far as being able to record scenarios, play back. We've got an immersion room from Echo Health, some life cast mannequins, and then we've got our offices. And then the other half of the building across the bay is where we'll run trucks out of. So and so that's kind of the overview. There's plenty of stuff on social media if people want to look it up, but it's we're not quite fully in the building. They're still doing some punch list stuff. We had our grand opening ribbon cutting on the 4th of October and moved in admin about 3 weeks ago. Supervisors moved in last week, and then trucks will be here probably the next week or so.
So Justin, as a follow-up, that talking about working with the sheriff's department and where y'all had co-located and using some of that space, and Mark, John, and I enjoyed our time in the detention center a couple months ago. That's kind of an unusual partnership, because you get on the 4th floor, and I'm going to save that question for us when we're offline, that the ground floor is the 4th floor. But anyways, and you go up to the 7th floor, but there's some, that detention center is attached to the administrative stuff there. But what led y'all, and I guess part of this is really we talk about relationships. We talk about relationships with other agencies, with colleges. How did y'all end up saying to the sheriff's department, "Hey, y'all have some space here"? How did that evolve? How did that happen until you got your new building?
Yeah, so we actually, it actually started when they built that building. So we were in a strip mall basically, with a very small little place to have seated class and do some training down on Branchview Drive. And when they started building the sheriff's office, I don't remember who came to who. I don't know. I have a feeling at the time it was probably David and Alan saying, "Hey, y'all are building this building. Could we have, we knew we needed they have on the 7th floor, they have a multi-purpose, they call it a multi-purpose room, but it's a big, big place where you can sit for seated. We knew we needed that. And then the training room ended up just being, and it was almost, I hate to say it, but it wasn't really an afterthought because they did it on the front end when they designed the building, but it was never enough space even from the beginning. But the relationships that we have, I tell people all the time, and you guys appreciate it because you travel across the state just like I do. People who've never been anywhere else, they think that what we have here exists everywhere, and it totally doesn't. But our relationships with law enforcement and fire, and I mean, even the way other county departments work together, municipalities, we are beyond blessed in this county. So the relationships were there already. It was, we didn't really, it was just a conversation like, "Hey, we could use some space," and that's where we ended up. And it was never perfect. You mentioned getting in the building. We had to park in downtown Concord and then come in security and go up to the 7th floor. And, it was, but it worked.
Mark kept setting the metal detector off every time he would go through. It was really weird. I think he wanted to be hand searched, but whatever.
But it was never, I got funny stories about that too, bringing people in for class and them not being able to get in the building and not knowing they couldn't bring weapons. And I mean, the whole, but it worked out. It was a good place to be, and we pulled it off for a number of years. But like I said, it was just, and now they've gotten to where they need the space. I mean, they were waiting on us to move out so that they could renovate and add some stuff up there for a roll call room and some cubicles. And, so the timing worked out great. But
the metal detectors in Rocky Mount are different. You're not allowed one you're not allowed in unless you set one off, because you need to have that type of protection down there.
And they'll hand it to you if you didn't bring your own steel. They'll give you some steel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think y'all are doing some fabulous stuff there in Cabarrus. Just to give folks that may be, and we were talking about this several weeks ago as well, just some how different each EMS agency is as we go. We've learned so much just in the last 5 years of travels and stuff like that. But where are you located? Like, what's your biggest city? Name the towns that are in your area for some of those folks that may be in the extreme east or extreme west, or like, I don't even know where Cabarrus is.
Yep. So Charlotte Motor Speedway is not in Charlotte. Although we fight that battle all the time. I don't know why. It totally sits in Cabarrus County. So if you're a NASCAR fan, NHRA now has actually become a little bit more of a draw than NASCAR per capita as far as the size of the space. But we got NHRA. Concord Mills Mall is in Cabarrus County, and then we've got Concord, Kannapolis, Harrisburg, Mount Pleasant, Midland. Those are kind of the municipalities within the county. So we're about 25 minutes, north of Charlotte. So we get some overflow. Mostly folks that live, we get, it's kind of a veteran community for Charlotte. So our population growth has been houses and, people that live here and work other places, although Cabarrus County has done a lot of great things. They're building an Eli Lilly. We had Philip Morris for years. And then when it closed down, the property's been sitting there. Eli Lilly is building a huge facility right here on Philip Morris, right behind us. Red Bull's in town. So our economic development is not hurting, which is a good thing, right now. But yeah, that's kind of where we are geographically. So
there's a small band that my dead best friend loved that hails from Cabarrus County. Have you ever met any of the Avett brothers or the Avett sister? Or
Yep, I have. Matter of fact, one of our former captains, Will Cannon, the Avett brothers used to clean his carpet. Before they made it big, they had a carpet cleaning business on the side, and I don't know what Jim had to do with that. If he ran, I don't know, but Will always tells the story about how the Avits were involved in that. And Will left us to go to the SBI and is now with the Red Cross, but that's always an interesting story. But yeah, Jim Avit lives, just 10 minutes that direction. And yeah, they definitely, anybody who's been around Cabarrus County for a while and likes good music knows the Avits. So
I was gonna say, if anybody knows anything about great music, it's me and my guy here. So
don't bring the guitar back out.
Please don't. Please don't.
Can you actually play that thing, or is it just a prop?
I do play it. Would you like me to play you a nice Christmas hymn?
No, not right now, but
probably Keith's guitar he borrowed.
Let's
it actually is Keith's guitar I borrowed. To be honest.
And he probably
my 12 string is it. I do have my 12 string, but that is Keith's. What'd you say, Walter?
You probably play at it, not play it. You probably play at it.
His phone's playing the music. He's just
correct.
Bring that thing to Wilmington in March, and we'll I'll bring if it's in tune. If not, I'll bring mine. We'll have a jam session.
Keith has to tune it for him. So
when I'm at those conferences, man, I'm all business. I don't play it.
Yeah.
I'm focused. We don't.
Terry, I think we had that same look at the same time.
Correct.
It is lightning here. I don't know where y'all are, but
hey, that's a good segue though, because you'll be a good one to talk about this too. We don't talk about this nearly enough. We do in our officer program, but this would be a good time to mention the North Carolina Administrators Association. I know registration recently opened for that, and folks can go in and do it. We really push it hard in our program, not because we're trying to sell that. It is a great networking. We have seen tremendous growth in that. Talk if you don't mind, talk a little bit about your relationship with it and your experience, because you're one of those guys that don't have a 1-year pin, you have a 25-year pin. So you can really speak from being with an agency and seeing a lot of impact and being with that association. Tell folks out there to listen a little bit about it.
So that my involvement with the association started attending conferences as a lieutenant captain. Cabarrus has always sent folks, and Mickey got up there at one conference and said, we need help. If anybody's interested, reach out. And so it started with a conversation. And at the time, Terry Barber was managing registration and technology. And I kind of worked alongside him for a couple conferences and figured out how to do what he was doing. And the rest is history. I'm on the executive committee, but I'm an appointed position. Essentially, I'm not an elected officer, but I manage registration and membership, that kind of stuff. Enough about that. The organization itself is, if nobody's ever been involved, it is, like you said, probably one of the best in North Carolina to be connected with other professionals and leaders. Most of the work is done around, sitting around at night, talking the networking side of it. But the conference content has there was never anything wrong with it, but there has been a lot of work that has grown into improving these conferences. And so some of the classes we're offering now, I think are, really making the conference part of it worthwhile as well. Some really good, presenters, and trying to have a big name keynote coming, to the past couple conferences. So if you've never been, it's a bargain. I mean, really to register, you don't have to join the association to come to conferences. You can come as a non-member. You get like $50 off as a member, but it's affordable. Honestly, the most expensive part of it is lodging. But if you end up, getting one, Asheville is in August, end of July, August, and then Wilmington is always in March. So one end of the state or the other. And look at the agenda, figure out if which one you want to come to. But March, and I don't have my calendar pulled up, but it's coming up in March. Hang on one second, I'll tell you.
Always during the ACC tournament, if I remember.
Yeah, exactly. It's the 4th through the 8th of 2024 in Wilmington. But ncaemsa.org is the website. You can just Google North Carolina Administrators Association or reach out to me, and I'll be glad to help you figure out if you want to be a member or if you want to just come to conference. But I also, for the administrators listening to this, make it a budget priority to send some people to it. we have members. We keep a membership roster here with our leadership team, but we make it a point to send folks and support that organization because it is, I think it is very beneficial. So,
and you talk about a big name. I didn't realize that I was given the keynote this year, so I'm really ecstatic to hear that here live. And oh, my bad. I guess it is Rob Lawrence. And so that's what I would say is one of the cool things is Rob Lawrence, who talks about having the original Virginia accent because he was up in Richmond for a couple of years, but having that intimate atmosphere of just you and a couple hundred of your best friends and that networking that happens. And Rob, who ran Metropolitan Ambulance Authority over in the UK and in London, who over to Richmond, out to the left coast. It's a pretty amazing event, and to be able to pick his brain and to see him. And so whether it was that Matt Z a couple conferences ago gave some pretty awesome stuff. And so these are national speakers who are right here in North Carolina at that administrators conference. So it definitely is a pretty awesome experience.
In the past two conferences, we've tried to make a leadership, an education, and an operations track. So for a while, we heard feedback saying, I'm an educator, because we did sort of merge with the Educators Association. But so you've got each session, you've got an option, and that, I think that's been beneficial as well. So.
Yeah, I was going to speak to the growth. When I actually started coming 2013, 2014 is when I started becoming religious with it and coming to both of them. I go Wilmington and Asheville. And what I have seen just in that time is how it's went from really like, it's my way I looked at it was you played golf on Wednesday. There was a conference and a half on Thursday and Friday. And now that really has backed all the way up to Monday. And you're seeing pretty good numbers on a Monday, Tuesday, even filling in some Wednesday, still playing golf, meeting on Wednesday evening, doing some stuff, networking, full day Thursday, vendors there with you, big event Thursday night. Just go and listen to Mickey. That's my highlight, man.
That's always entertaining. Yeah.
That's my highlight.
But then that Friday morning, the medical director's update, hearing from the state medical director, hearing from the chief of the Office of EMS, what the direction is that the state is going, and from beginning to end, that intimate environment, and into you get to see where things are going. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And, we were talking about just the other day about, I don't think there's ever been and this is going back to that growth, there's never been a time that I can remember in EMS to where so many EMS agencies were building something. I mean, from east to west, people are just putting up new stations and new buildings. And maybe that's always happened and I never just saw it. But it just seems to me that they're getting out of these 40-year-old buildings or these closets, and they're getting into these. So it's a respect. You're starting to see nice places built, Wake Tech in their simulation complex. I know the COA has got they opened their Dare County campus, and now they're putting up another one in Elizabeth City. And then Dare County is building several stations. And then, Wake, I knew is building some. Orange County has mentioned that they're building, and I'm leaving folks out because I know they're building these things that are out there. And I think that just speaks to a little bit of that. What we always wanted as we were coming up is to be able to get into a situation where we had that respect. And nothing says respect like you start getting handed, dollars to build. You said yourself, Justin, that's a 20-some plus year dream that you walked into at Cabarrus. So, and that immersion room you got is something for community colleges to be jealous of. So,
well, I hope that the price tag, you got a budget for it to find some grant money, but it's that thing is, I want people to come use it, and I'm not trying to sell it for the company, but I think there will be some of that. I think there'll be some that come and see it and try to figure out a way to put it in their space, because it's pretty cool. So,
yeah, I plan to bring Morgan out there and have an immersion room, and maybe we can have a concert, and you can fall in love.
You could be Morgan. You could put the audience around you, and you could.
If you would let me play. If
He would be in his element.
Put it down. Put the guitar down, Wilson.
all this time and all this money and all these sorries, I don't owe you, honey. Just so you know. Walter wants to know who your best friend is, Justin. He always asks us. He sends us text messages offline and says, "Hey, ask him who his best friend is. I want to know. I'm desperate for a best friend."
The episodes that he misses, he texts us to say, "Hey, y'all, I'm going to miss this episode. So please make sure you ask this question."
Justin, don't fall for it. Just don't fall for it. That's the only thing I can tell you. Just don't fall for it.
Do you really want to know, Walter, or is it just,
It's really John wants to know. It's really John that wants to know because he wants to let us know who his best friend is, and then Terry's going to get upset, and Mark and I are just guests like you, so we don't even have a say in the deal.
Innocent bystanders.
I don't know. I'm scared to answer. My best, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Wise man.
Very good. Justin, very good.
Who's your second best friend then?
He's probably gonna leave that one alone too.
I don't tell you my first, because then the first, if I tell you the second, that they might think they're the first, and then they're going to get offended.
Oh, this is political. See, I've been saying this all along. It's political. It's political. To come out here and really say, who your best friend is. It's a political thing, man. I guess there's some hurt feelings out there. That's why the list has to be long.
If somebody's not in the top 8, they get upset.
Well, I mean, look, Mark's made it all the way up to 31st with me, so he's.
That was 18 a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I mean, some people moved in.
Things change.
I do think we need to go back to MySpace where you could rank your friends. People need to be put in their place,
They do.
Hey.
You can move them up and down, then they knew where they stood. I mean, it was,
Yeah, you can keep track of it. You don't have to, remember it like John has a lot of trouble with, trying to remember things sometimes.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've never been on. I've never been on MySpace. I'd never had a MySpace account.
Walter has no space.
You missed out, man. You missed out.
No, I'm good. Sometimes I want to get rid of Facebook.
Justin, we appreciate your time that you come on here to share us a little bit about Cabarrus County. It's definitely one of the places worth coming to visit. Hopefully we'll draw some in there for the officer program or the academy, or maybe you'll have some positions open and they want to come work there. So, I mean, either way, it's worth a visit to go down there and see your new facility and just say hey to everyone.
Absolutely. We'd love to have anybody that wants to come. And if you're nearby, even if you're passing through, just ring the doorbell and we'll show you around. So
have them show you the Morgan Wallen suite.
Yeah, thanks for not hurting John's heart if he found out that Keith was your best friend. I don't know if he'd be able to make it through this holiday season, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm not trying to ruin anybody's Christmas.
He wouldn't get his guitar back, that's for sure.